And welcome back to Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days. Wow. 50 Seasons in 50 Days. I just finished watching Survivor China, a season that last time I did this really pissed off a lot of people that I had it ranked so lowly. Well, fear not. It has moved up a lot, but we're going to get to that a little later. I am joined by Casey making his third return during one of these marathons. Casey, thank you so much for coming back one final time to do this with me. I'm glad that our schedules can match up for this. And for the first time, I have Chan joining us to talk about Survivor China. And I guess we'll just kind of start with that of what made you, Chan, want to do China out of every other season?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks so much for having me. I think you're a little crazy, but really cool for doing this. Yeah, so China is one of the first seasons I ever watched. So, short backstory, I watched Survivor as a kid, did not remember it. I was more of a Big Brother person. And then season 41 came on after a Big Brother finale. And I just stayed on watching it. And I was like, oh my God, why did I stop watching this show? This is amazing. And now I'm Survivor over Big Brother any day. And I watched all the seasons in a row in a slightly longer time frame than you did, Drew. But China was the third season I watched after Tocantins and Millennials Gen X, I think. And then I watched China and I just loved it. One of my favorite winners. Just like a great starter season, I think. I think it has a lot of great parts of it. The location, I'm sure we'll talk about all the amazing things about China, but yeah, really excited to be recapping it here today with y'all.
And Casey, Chan brings that up about this is a great starter season. For me, it almost starts off like Pearl Islands, where it's a non-traditional, like, we're going to do this other thing first. We're back to 16 players. We're at a location that is very, like, as far as scenery, I don't think we've seen one since Thailand, ironically enough, 10 days ago. For you, has China kind of changed its spot in your head, I guess, over the years, or has it always been ranked fairly high or even fairly low? I'd be shocked if that was the case, but
I feel like China is about the same as it's always been for me. I would say, now granted, there's 50 seasons, so obviously to have the full ranking of all 50 seasons is crazy unless it's you, Andrew, because why you would do this 3 times is beyond me.
I'm trying to be modest, guys. Like,
but it's I feel like it's always been like a top 15 season for me. Maybe years ago it was right around the 10 spot. But honestly, watching it this time made me realize that it's actually been a long time since I've rewatched China, like easily 10 plus years. And I mean, it came out, 19 years ago? So the fact that even after all of the... Wait. Yeah.
I think you were in 07. Something, I think around 07, yeah.
Yeah, so 19 years ago. But yeah, the fact that even after all this time, I would probably still put it in the top 15, maybe top 20. I think it holds up.
That's for sure. And we're going to talk about things that don't when we hit the John Rivera part of the discussion. But for the most part, yeah. And they even bring back old school things, even though old school, I feel like it's 1 through 10, of like player introductions of like, oh, whether it's, a grave digger or a model or a this or that. And in fact, watching the Final Four, like the intro for the Final Four, they're under their names during the intro, it's Denise the lunch lady and Amanda the beauty queen. It's like, wow, that's something that I don't believe they've ever done before, after definitely not before at this point. And we're introduced to one of our, I would say, all-time great newbie casts. So Chan, for you, who has stood out to you over time, or who may have stood out to you maybe differently this time around?
Yeah, so it's been a while since I first watched it. I will say that some opinions of mine have changed. I agree. I think this cast is phenomenal. It is a smaller one, so maybe there's less chances for duds to happen. I was saying I feel like there's only really one dud, you could call it, and even they will like played a part. I think that's Eric, in my opinion. He's just kind of boring. He
Yeah.
plays his role. He has a little showmance, so that's one thing. But everybody else, even like people at the beginning, Crazy Dave, like I totally forgot about him. Like him getting naked during the challenge, just so ridiculous. And Chicken, who can forget Chicken?
No
So
one.
great, a mix of great characters, and also like I love a strategic player or multiple of them. So I thought it was a really good mix of like clueless, plucked off the street, recruited for Survivor type thing, versus those that came to play and came ready to play hard. So I think maybe over time, like Denise, I really liked her my first watch, and then this watch we were talking before, Drew. She kind of annoyed me a little bit, but even so, like she played her role and definitely contributed to the season, especially near the end
Yeah.
there. But everyone else pretty consistent in terms of my opinions of them.
So and you are right. Like we'll talk about Denise a little bit later. But what I think this cast has going for it is, and I've mentioned this during, I think right after Palau. So Guatemala, I was like, we're entering the era of recruited players, and a lot of the time they end up being cartoon characters. Like we get a lot of characters during this era of Survivor, and I have never really been the biggest fan of that, except for when it works. Like in this season, where we have James and Courtney, who I think are the two biggest characters on the season, and I feel like when I get to Heroes vs. Villains a little later this week, why both of them probably should have been on the same tribe, but we'll talk about that a little later. For Courtney, the best confessionalist on the season as a whole. I think Todd is a great narrator, but I think that Courtney as a whole. Casey, for you, just that first scene of them going to the temple, and she's just already done with everything, and she will continue to be done with everything the rest of the season. What was your first vibe with Courtney Yates, and did she grow into you that season, or has she grown into you over time?
So I struggle hard trying to remember what my initial first reaction was of Courtney back in the day. I think the overall image of what I've built of Courtney over these years is she's just fun, sarcastic, and sassy. That is the Courtney that I ultimately remember, especially by the time you get to Heroes versus Villains, and she throws shit right back at Jeff, which is great.
She does it during the reunion too, which is warranted.
So, you're talking about for this one, or you're talking about?
Yeah, she does it during the 15 reunion, it's warranted.
So, unfortunately, I will completely admit this. So, I was rewatching it. I was literally just finishing right before I came on the Final Four Tribal. Work has just been crazy this week, so I was not able to finish the last 40 minutes of the actual finale, but I remember, I totally remember. I knew it was happening. But with Courtney, that's ultimately the image that I have of her and remember of her. But I will say, upon this rewatch, I think she still has such fun moments. She has very cute moments, and my God, I totally forgot how young she looked, even though she's 26 in this season.
Yeah.
But then she does have a couple moments that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Teenage me, preteen me might have been fine with it just because it was the attitude of the time with reality television. But especially 10 minutes, 15, whatever minutes ago when I was watching, she's just really in her confessional going in on Denise's personal life. And I actually love Denise. I think it is so refreshing to see just the average Joe plucked off the streets. That is something that Survivor has been missing for so long. And Denise, I just love her. I love her. And I love even her narrating confessionals, which oftentimes really all she gets is this simple lunch lady talking about her amazing experiences that she gets. It's just it makes those segments super heartwarming. But I did not like that Courtney was going in on her life. I just think it was distasteful.
Well, I feel like there's a flip for me with Courtney and Denise, where at the beginning of the season, I'm pretty good with both of them. I'm enjoying both of them. And I think because Courtney has a very obvious foil in John Robert there, it's how can you possibly hate anything this woman is saying? And in fact, I guess we can just make this segment about Courtney, because every time I watch it, I feel worse for her, mainly because it feels like she's being held hostage by Todd and Amanda, because she's expressing every round, John Robert makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, John Robert hates me. John Robert this, John Robert that. And Todd's, being very catty for a lot of it. Amanda's, pouting her way through explaining why they have to keep John Robert. But I understand those biting confessionals early of Courtney, because it's like, yeah, I hate these people less than everyone else, but I still hate them because why are you not? Am I not a part of this trio? Chan, is it correct using that phrasing, I guess, of being held hostage? And do you think that, I guess, were Todd and Amanda, was it warranted for them to still play like that, even though one of their allies felt uncomfortable?
Right. So if I was Courtney and my allies were not listening to somebody I want to get out for personal reasons, I'd like to think I'd hear them out on the strategy, but also, like, if you, at some point, if you are not helping me take out this guy who is like clearly coming for me, like making me feel like uncomfortable, I'm finding another alliance. Like, y'all don't care about me. But then on the other hand, the fact that Todd and Amanda, which we know that they are a little catty, like Todd had his moments throughout the season, but she must have been like, also, I wouldn't be surprised if she was like very bratty, complaining around camp all the time. Because if you're around somebody like that, that is kind of hard to deal with. Of like, oh my God, you're never happy. Like deal with it. Like, we're in a game. Like, he's our ally, whatever. So I see both sides, more so on Courtney's side, of course, but you're living with these people. Like, everything's going to kind of get to you. So if she's constantly like complaining, I can see why they're like, can you just stop? And like, I don't know. It's, yeah, I agree with the comment. Definitely focus on nerves. I see why they kept it. I think they could have been a little bit more sympathetic to her thing, but I'm Courtney. I'm trying to jump ship if they're not listening to me as allies. But
and it isn't until they decide they want to do it that they finally do it. Go ahead, Casey.
Kind of road.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny. Amanda, or not Amanda, Todd actually does bring up that exact point earlier on. He's like, I think we should probably get rid of John Robert because people are unhappy, and if people are unhappy, they're not going to stick with us, which Courtney ultimately did what she wanted. She voted for John Robert like 3 times. So she did what she wanted. But I mean, Todd does bring that up. I mean, you could say in one train of thought, I just saw a comment that flashed up about them being a game bot. I don't think they're quite as game bot as we would like to maybe view them. But once again, Todd does mention that as some reasoning to get him out earlier. I feel like Todd definitely is the driving force behind the whole season, and Amanda sometimes grounds him, because I think Todd does get really catty and petty. Without Amanda, I wonder if Todd would go wild.
Well, he gets super paranoid towards the end of the game, like, and a lot of Amanda and Courtney's confessionals as the game progresses is, well, Todd's gonna lose, and then when they hit that final 4 and Todd's just double checking, like, hey, are we good? It's like, dude, there are 4 of us, like, we're basically just getting water. We are all right. But we'll get to kind of how Todd's able to bounce back at that final tribal. So yes, we talked about Courtney's foil and John Robert, and this is not my what the modern fandom think would hate, but also it is just funny that 10 days ago when I watched Thailand, that moment is played for laughs at the reunion and during All Stars, and here it's still pretty much played for laughs. Like, they have the wacky music playing in the background. You can tell that they're trying to show Courtney as like, why is she so upset over this? It's not a big deal. And it's one of those fun, I guess, things of watching it the way that I do, as far as like you see the changes happen over the years of what was acceptable, what was played for laughs, etc. And obviously, even then it was still a little, why is this entertaining? Are y'all shocked that we it took us that long till 39 for someone to step in on a lot of these situations? Because 39 was in 2019, And I feel like by that point we were already, Me Too had already or no, Me Too was on its way to happening, or um, are you guys surprised it took this long?
No.
No. I I mean, you have to think about like the way that reality television was, back in the late 90s, 2000s, like very unfiltered, unhinged. Yeah, like when I was a kid, in the mid 2000s, 100% agree with that point on the screen. But in like the mid 2000s, when like we're on Zanga and MySpace and stuff like that, like social media is just becoming like a big thing. It wasn't until probably like 2009 that I started to like see everyone have Facebook. And social media definitely changed alongside with everything in the internet, changed the landscape of how we view things and everyone communicating with each other. So no, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I think it was 2014 is when like even gay marriage became legal. Like that's 12 years ago. That's, so I'm not surprised it took to 2019. And honestly, had it not been for Dan, I think we could even still potentially be dealing with a lot of stuff that maybe earlier seasons were dealing with, not to the extremeness that we see in some of the older seasons, but like, I think it has been within the past couple years, they have officially like implemented, like there's no sort of cuddling or anything like that anymore. Like none of that exists in Survivor. And it's very interesting as a stark contrast seeing in Survivor China, a lot of those things were happening both willingly and unwillingly, primarily John Robert.
Yeah. Chan?
Yeah, I mean, this is just how it was. Like, it's not good. Obviously, I'm not saying that it's good or defending it or anything, but like, it's just how it was. And like, it's kind of cool to see like the time capsule of like how things have progressed and how things are presented. I don't obviously love that he was like harassing her and stuff, but like, also I like how raw it is in terms of like, this is how a lot of men are and still are. Even if they're not on TV, it's still happening. So it's like, yeah, this is like a shitty tool can I curse?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
No, you were good.
Sucks. And there's still guys like that who exist and suck. And like people watching now, like he sucks. I hope he's better by now. I hope he's like a better dude. But it's like almost interesting to see it captured on camera and see how people react. Like maybe, and this is me spitballing again, I'm not defending production, but maybe production's like, this is the human experience. Let's see how it plays out. I would like to think if it got worse, they'd step in. I mean, they didn't in like Thailand, but it's like very fascinating, not good fascinating, but like very intriguing to watch how things were different then and now. Even though it shouldn't have happened. I'm like, I'd rather that, like not I'd rather that, but okay. I don't mind conflict like that maybe wouldn't be versus like kumbaya, everybody's nice. Like, I don't know. I like the different types of players.
Yeah, and we're still at the point
I don't know if I communicated that right. I'm not in any way defending.
No, I don't think anyone is taking it like that. But we are, like both of y'all raised the point of we are still very much in the social experiment era of the show where idols are still not that big, thank goodness. Like they do come into play a couple of times this season, but for the most part, it is really just watching people interact with each other, and that's where the money is. Where it was for a long time with the show, it's like that's why Vanuatu will always be high for me, because I love these people just hating each other, and as much as they wanted to do this women's alliance, it just blew up because people were still different outside of just being women. Like they just did not get along, and then here if you kind of just black out that one aspect of the Courtney Jean Robert thing, it's a lot of fun watching them go after each other, because it's clear that these two do not like each other. It's clear that she's so annoyed at Tribal when he's referring to himself as a bad boy. You're sitting at home rolling your eyes at all of this, and you're loving the insults that she's throwing to him in public in front of everyone. He's sitting there insulting her about no one's going to write her name down because she's not a threat. That aspect, and I think this is what you were trying to say, that aspect is still fun despite what else is happening in their rivalry. In my notes I have, he's also just still the worst, because he is the worst on the season. And thankfully, when he goes, there are seasons where like the antagonist goes relatively early and then it kind of sucks the air out of it. I feel like him going almost the season hits another gear. Casey, was John Robert the actual villain, or was it the trio of Todd, Amanda, and Courtney? Do you perceive them as overcoming John Robert, or do you see them as the big boss?
Oh yeah, that trio. I think they are the villains of the season, but you're blinded into thinking they're not. And it's not until Jean Robert's out that I feel like a player like PG is a lot more sympathetic. She's the underdog. You realize that PG, in a season full of characters who generally are not so smart, you realize PG is just fighting an uphill battle the whole time, and that the villains win out, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's so funny because the first time I watched this season, I hated the fact that Jamie and PG threw the challenge. It's like that's so stupid. But like every other time you watch, it's like no, they kind of have to do this because they're going to get picked off at the merge. What happens for the most part then? Chan, for you, yeah, was it Jean Robert's like this? He's a guppy compared to these, or was this trio's ultimate goal to get to the end and overcome this Jamoke down here?
Yeah, I mean, John Robert's obviously like the character villain, and they don't shy away from like dunking on him, which I think is, you know, one of the telltales, kind of like a coach type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like villain for sure. I mean, personality wise, like Todd's being bitchy in his confessionals, Courtney's being bitchy in her confessionals, and then you know, obviously their gameplay you could classify, you know, if it's hero versus villain. Well, they stayed loyal to each other, so it's just, if you're lying to everybody, you can't be loyal to everybody. So I don't know. Another reason I love this season. I think the cast is all complex characters. Like maybe one or two people you could put into a neat little box, but they're so human, they're so raw, and that's why I like it. Like Todd has his bad moments where now we look at him and be like, that's a terrible move. Why are you saying that out loud? Why are you doing that? Why are you bitching at her? But that's why it's so intriguing, is to see like real people with real flaws, like how they move through the game and be successful in the game ultimately.
Yeah, Todd's winning game, and we'll talk about it a little later, but Todd's winning game is not, it's not perfect, and I'm not even talking about like how
Sure.
It's very similar, I feel like, for me better, but like very similar to like Adam Klein, where Adam Klein in Millennials vs. Gen X, he's never portrayed as anything other than someone that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and then he ends up at the end and wins because he did the right amount of good things when it mattered most. And I feel like with Todd, he has full control over his OG tribe. He's still being portrayed as, okay, that is kind of a dick thing to say, but like it's fine because this is one of those cases where we kind of know it's going to be one of the three of these people because they're the only people that they are like, we get everything from them. And then I kind of want to talk on somebody else that everyone kind of clocks as a threat, but isn't really from my perspective, and that's James. Casey, I am not a James person. I don't think I've ever been a James person. I feel like James is just one of these characters that the show loves, but I just don't. James 1.0.
I gotta say, when I was a kid, love James. Absolutely love James. Watching him now, I like him. I don't love him. I totally see in the context of 2007 why he was popular, and I could 1000% see why people would still like him now. Yes, he is not very strategic. He's a little bit more stubborn. We also know a lot more information about him, as I would assume the three of us being pretty big Survivor super fans by the time he gets to Heroes versus Villains, which really stains his reputation. But yeah, I like him. I think he's endearing enough, and you see that there is fight in him, but he is just a part of a numbers alliance, which ultimately is, gets betrayed.
It's funny watching this season after just finished watching 50, the finale of 50, because of all this weird backlash that Joe gets. I'm not even talking about the Jonathan thing. God. But like, I feel like people dislike Joe when in reality he's just not a good player. But then that's fine. Like that's it. And I feel like James is in that same category of he's built like a brick shithouse, and that's pretty much it. Like that there he doesn't want to eat the apple. Let's stay the five of us, and we'll just see what happens. He is another. I know there's a lot of catty people this season. It's not just Todd, but like James is also very catty, and also out of everybody, and this is not a knock one, he has a crush on Denise out of everyone. So that's all I'm gonna worry. Let's call it what it is. For me, yeah, it's just always like, okay, yeah, his purpose is basically to be there for people to look at him, and ultimately get blindsided, because there's no way that he is going to ever think that these people are going to flip on him. There's no chance in hell, and that's, I don't know. I think that I've just never been a fan. And I get it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, two things. One, to minor comment on Joe. I like Joe, kind of. He's nowhere near a top, character or player for me. He was great for the season he was on. Then in 50, he's not built for the game. It is way too conflicting for who he is as a person. I would never shit on him. I think he seems to be a good person. But then again, I also like, and this is a conversation you and I had about a year ago, Andrew, like, Survivor, they're characters on a TV show for me. I don't follow them in real life. I would never wish any of them harm, but I don't really care about them in real life. I don't follow that stuff. So like hearing all these conflicting things, I'm focused on the game and what they present. But anyway, Joe aside. James, on the other hand, I think the interesting thing about James too is you have to think about, like, once again, the context of which he was playing, and a lot of those casual fans who were also like Gen Xers who were a core audience at the time. They idolize the challenge beast people, which I would also argue Joe's a way better challenge person than James ever was.
James has literally never won an individual immunity.
And he's essentially been medevac twice.
Essentially.
Alert. Just kidding.
But yeah, so like with James, like, yeah, that's the kind of core audience he like represents. And then you see, oh wow, he gets taken out of his alliance, and now he's the underdog. He's fighting for his life, and he survives. He kept his head above water until the merge, and now he's back with his. So it's like it's kind of a bad underdog story for the season, when like PG's really the underdog for the season. So that I think that also helps like lift James' character up, is like you like him for X, Y, and Z, and look, he's fighting for his life. They're trying to throw challenges to get him out, which even actually on this rewatch pissed me off at first. But
fuck Sudoku is such a great line. Fuck Sudoku is such a great line. So
and then what was I supposed to? Was I supposed to ignore him? Yes. It's so good. That's kind of what like. People, he's funny. He has great confessionals. He's not like, I just love how people back then were not afraid to call people out. And like, I just love the drama. Like I love when they hate each other. Those are my favorite seasons, when they just hate each other.
Most of them.
Yes.
He hates them both.
Yeah. And if you're a watcher and you maybe don't like PG, how could you? I love PG. I actually loved her more this time than last time. But like, if you are rooting for the underdogs, PG and Jamie, James might be your op. They weren't a fan of him. So I think there's people that like and dislike him. But he's just so funny and raw and just different from a lot of the other players we had seen in the past. Somebody commented something that, in terms of like getting rid of Aaron. No, it was like why they get rid of Aaron over James. I think it was I thought that was like, between Jamie and PG, like Jamie needs her credits too. I think she had some like good strategic reads throughout the season, especially that one, knowing like, yeah, James is like competitive, but Aaron's in with everybody. Like he's reading as the sly, like connected person. I thought that was such a great, if you're going to throw the challenge and get out your op, you need to get out the more threatening one. And that was clearly Aaron. But
Jamie's clocked as the leader of her tribe going into the merge. Like the reason they target her over Eric and PG and Frosty, I guess, is because they see her as the big strategic threat. And do appreciate the fact that even though she gets voted out thinking something is an idol and it's not, that doesn't make me think anything less of her, because she doesn't know what the idol is. And so when she does talk about the fact that like people just think that I'm like this dumb blonde, it's like, no, I mean, at least from an audience perspective, I don't think she's portrayed like that at all. Because even when they are throwing the challenge, it is shown to be, we have to do this. This is a strategic thing that we are doing. Hey, what's I think Eric caught on to the things, but you know, them sneaking through James's bag and thinking, okay, well, if that's an idol, then this clearly has to be an idol. I think that Jamie is very underappreciated in a season full of large characters. I won't say that she falls, like she's not in Eric territory, but like she's middle of the road when on another season she could be one of these big threats. Bigger threats than she already is here. And that kind of gets us to her tribe, because we haven't talked anything about them as of yet. We've got Crazy Dave. We've got Crazy Dave versus everyone. You talked about how you like fights and people hating each other. This is the perfect tribe for that, because everyone hates Dave, yet Dave survives long enough, or at least right before the swap, I'm pretty certain. Did you, out of like, I know you like fights and hatred and all that, is this an example of that? Did you love their tribe?
Yeah, I just like, he's obviously such a doof. Like I wouldn't be able to hold back around him. And like a funny quote, I'm glad we're talking about him next, because it's to do with James and Dave, because they were on the same beach for some. And Dave goes up to James and hugs him. He goes, "What'd I say about the hugs?" He goes, "Oh yeah, sorry." And it was just like a sitcom line. Like it's just so like, "What'd I say about hugs?" Sorry. Like it was just so good. Yeah, he's just no self-awareness, no tact, wants to be a leader so bad and flops miserably. It's just cinema. Like he left when he needed to. I didn't need him there longer, but like, come on. Like they don't cast people like that anymore. Maybe like a few here and there, but I love the train wrecks.
Yeah, and I'm going to use a lot of Thailand, probably because they're in East Asia, a lot of Thailand comparisons. And one of them is, you know, in Thailand, I guess the more chaotic tribe was the Sukjai tribe. And then we had Chuigan, you know, everything that happened there. I think with here, the big characters are on, Red Tribe.
Sean Yu?
The way we just watched this by
Sean Yu?
Red. Is it
Sean?
No,
John
that's
and
Fei Long.
Someone tell us in the comments.
It does not, 50 seasons of Survivor, I always refer to them as the colored tribes.
Yeah, red and yellow.
Fei Long. Yeah, it's Fei Long. But anyway, I feel like Fei Long is the one that has the characters, and yeah, the fighting with Jean Robert is still, it's not as out in the open as it was with Dave on the other tribe. You know, with Dave on the other, it's the trailer for every episode is like, this person hates Dave this time, and this person hates Dave this time. And I think by the time we get to Sharia hating him, it's like, okay, maybe they will finally get rid of him, and they do. But he's a fun pre-merge, pre-swap villain. We also have the all-time vote out of Chicken in the first episode. I would say that if you were to rank China moments, this might be one or two, especially for me, and it's the first boot. The only other thing pre-swap that I kind of want to touch on, well, two things. Jean Robert clocks Todd as the best out there, and we also see a lot of moments of people just wanting to work with Todd. It becomes very Kim in One World, where it's the same thing of like, it seems like everyone just wants to work with this person. The other thing, instead of doing Exile Island this season, we get the kidnapping twist that we had back in Pearl Islands, and that's going to pay off a lot as far as where the idols are concerned this season. I'll ask Casey this, and I'll ask Chan the other one. Casey, for you, if I know hindsight and all of that, every time you watch the season now, is it like it's so obvious that it's Todd, or are there still people that it's like, okay, it could actually be this person based off of what I'm being shown on screen?
It is almost too obvious that it is Todd. The only way that, and had I not known the outcome, the only way that I might not think it's Todd is literally just due to Amanda's edit those last couple episodes. Because, I mean, time and time and time again, we see in Survivor that players will win in the 11th hour. It is literally those last few episodes, usually around the loved one's visit, that kicks a player into high gear. They get out the threats, and that's the moves they needed to do to leave the impression on the jury to win. That would be, if I didn't know Todd won it, that would be my only thing of like, oh, maybe this is how Amanda ends up winning, because I feel like for the longest time, the only one that is just straight up getting strategic, smart breakdowns is Todd, and it's consistent throughout the whole season. Like most of the other time, it's narrations, it's bickering, and it's fights, which is really just the entertainment of the season. Todd's like the only one for the longest time.
Yeah. Chan, so the other part of what I've said to start that off was the kidnapping twist, and this is how we're going to find idols this season, because idols are actually hidden at camp. There's no exile. One, we're still in the early days of idols. What are your thoughts on this early portion of idol lore, I guess? And what did you think about the fact that it was a kidnapping twist instead of exile? We're in exile. We're in exile mania right now. Just everything dealing with that.
Yeah. So quickly on the Todd thing, I took notes on like some of his winner edit, like winner confessionals, and almost every episode there's something. It's like, I feel like I'm the only one playing sometimes. And like, even in the first episode, he had like such a winner confessional. So just wanted to add that on. Like, there's so many good ones. But yeah, I actually liked the kidnapping twist. I liked that it created opportunities for cross-tribal pollination. It was funny. If they were to do it now, more people, I think the cat would be out of the bag immediately, but it seemed like people weren't really asking questions. Like, why did John Robert just find out that there were idol clues and idols? Like, was he not asking what happened with the tube? Like, were people just that clueless? So I think if they did it now, it'd be different. But I think back then it was a really great way to introduce people, cross-tribal. Obviously, Todd was the only one really proactively playing it, like getting in with the right people. James probably would have given it to Denise if Todd hadn't stepped in and said, Todd, give me whatever you have in your hand. So I thought it was great. I didn't really see any downsides, really. Like, it created opportunities for people if they were to, because it was Leslie that obviously didn't pan out. James, it got him the 2 idols. Yeah, I think it only helped. And I thought it was a cool twist not doing exile, in the midst of all this exile. What was the other portion? The idols. I thought it was a great one idol per, don't get re-hidden. I thought it was classic.
Yeah. We also get a new twist on the swap.
Yes, I hated that. I didn't like that. So
yes.
Not that I was an Aaron stan, but like, damn, that sucks. Like, I see what they were going for, but I just don't think it worked. Like, because you're just like screwing over. And actually, I read Todd's AMA on Reddit, and he had wrote in there like, yeah, that kind of sucked for Aaron, but like, if that tribe was smart and knew that it was going to be 2 for 2, because they were like, oh, it's just us, then they would have picked Todd and Amanda. Maybe like Todd was saying that on AMA because he's like, they could have worked with us maybe, versus like Aaron and James. Like, I don't know if you clocked that we were more strategic. I don't know. He was just saying there could have been a smarter way to play it for the other group, who obviously did not work out and they got demolished. So maybe there's room there, but I think there's so much better ways to do a swap. I don't know. You can get swap screwed randomly too, though. So I don't know. I didn't hate it. I disliked it. We'll
okay. Casey, thoughts on how they do the swap?
So, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think you do have to play around with certain things. You know, sometimes things don't work, and that's okay. I think it's just best to acknowledge that they don't work and move on from it. But I like it. I think it just needs to be tweaked. I'm not saying that, I mean, this is just spitballing an idea. I'd have to really, really think about it. But like, if you're going to do that, then there needs to be some kind of, I think 2 people's like could be a lot, but there needs to be an assurance. Like, they can't be voted out this next one. which then lets them build relationships, both personal and strategic, and it potentially gets them a footing. Like there has to be, like, swap screws are just the worst. Like, think about it. If Aaron had stayed and not James, there would have never been 3 seasons of James. He would have never worked his way into the hearts of the, America. But, like, would Aaron have? Would the entire season panned out well, the entire season would have panned out differently. There could have been another person that people loved, but I think it needs to be tweaked. I think it's a fun, difference, on the tribe swap.
Well, it's funny you say James, because I know you didn't watch the reunion, but James wins the fan favorite award. He beats Denise and someone else, but PG. Oh, PG. But yeah, and I feel like, and I guess we'll find out tomorrow, but I think James wins back to back. I'm not sure, but I'm fairly certain he wins back to back. And that's just, we're in the middle of, like I said, we're in the middle of the character era of the show, and people want to. That's why Russell Hantz wins in 19 and 20, because as much as I can't stand the man, I understand why fans were up his ass for as long as they were. Quickly, it's just a fun moment of Jamie and Eric talking, and Eric's a virgin, and Jamie thinks that's super sweet because that shows that, like, he has values and this, that, and the other. But we get to the idol, and Todd and Amanda are trying their damnedest to do it without Frosty seeing it happen, and then Frosty sees it happen. And it's a comedy. I won't say comedy of error. It's a comedy of error, because Amanda just is making it obvious by the standing there like this on it, and Frosty's like, "Oh, can I see it? Can I see it?" I hate these idols in this season because I think they're just way too big. But it does.
Like it.
Huh? I kind of like it. I think it's just
like
different.
Okay. But it does lead to a very fun 2 rounds of swap where we're trying to figure out how to basically give James these idols and also potentially have James idol out someone on his swap tribe so that they can actually just decimate everyone at the merge. I know it sounds so, I guess, basic, but it leads to very compelling 2-episode story arc of how is this going to turn out. Mm-hmm. Chan, here, just everything dealing with the idol, everything with them trying to throw the challenge so that James can play the idol, just everything involved with that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it also just speaks to Todd's, like, strategic prowess, like coming up with that plan, which to us might be like you said, basic. Survivor 101, he was being proactive. Nobody was like, he was like, I know where the idol is. It's obviously like semi-public. Like, yeah, they trusted Frosty kind of at that point, but like not really. He's like, I'm forced to bring him in on this. Like, why not use it to be proactive about your game and get out your biggest threat on the other side with no blood on your hands? And you know that the idol is getting taken care of and taken out. So obviously, like, great plan by Todd, didn't pan out, but it just speaks to him actively playing, which a lot of other folks weren't doing. The idols. Sorry, what was the question?
Just how idols come into because until James gets voted out, mm-hmm. idols really aren't. Oh, I guess the Jamie round. But idols really aren't the main focus of a lot of this season. Mm-hmm. It's really this 2-episode story arc, the Jamie boot, and then the James vote out, I think 3 episodes afterwards. So just how idols come into play during this section here.
Yeah, I thought it was a good balance because it drove the storyline and made it like a little bit more fun than if there were no idols. Like, it still gave a little bit of like, oh, you have to plan around that, or you have to be wary of blindside, especially when it comes to obviously James. But also it wasn't so like, you know, like the new era where there's a new idol or advantage at every turn. Like, you're still getting back to the basics of Survivor. But then there's other like funny moments, like John Rivera just finding about the idol later, like, and trying to solve it, like, be serious. So yeah, I thought it was good balance. Like, good. And overall, my feedback on the season is like a great mix of old era and not new era. I won't say new era, but like more modern Survivor and like gameplay that goes into that.
Yeah, and so going off of that, one, Casey, would you eat balut?
For the challenge, absolutely.
Okay, me too.
The feathers is what would probably mess me up, but yeah, I would not do it. Like, that's crazy.
The only thing that I would feel like I would struggle on is the 1,000-year egg, because that just looks like it smells like gasoline. I don't know what it smells like, but it looks like it smells like gasoline. Two, merge. And the second portion of the season that deals with the idol. And we talked earlier about Jamie, having the right read on what the idol is, just not having the right thing. This is one of my favorite merge episodes, probably through the first 20 seasons. What are your thoughts on the merge case? Oh, just the merge episode leading to Jamie playing the fake idol.
Well, two things. One, I want to make a small little comment on the last topic with Todd and the whole plan. I think that plan, while it's fun television, it's convoluted. It's not necessary. They know the location of the hidden immunity idol. Tell James to go get it. Todd, you keep it for yourself. Now you both have one. Also, to willingly waste an immunity idol, and where they could just themselves throw the challenge, get rid of the two people they need to get rid of anyway, then you still have two hidden immunity idols in the game, and it's still with yours. Luckily, it still worked out for them, but they lost, they lost someone in the mix. But anyway, that's that. As for, which then also, like, Crazy Todd never returned. But we know there was like a whole Dr. Phil thing in the later years. But the merge episode was very interesting. It was a lot of fun. I felt like it was still a little obvious about what was going on in the game. I think one of the most interesting aspects of that episode is actually the total switch up of Jean Robert. He is a way toned down version of himself. And I think they even referenced in the next episode, right at the beginning, Todd's like, I love this new version of you. Like, I'm willing to, like, we're still willing to work with you because we see this is who you can be. So actually, I think that was probably my, like, favorite part of it. And then the chaos was with the idols, and, they came to a logical conclusion. So I kind of loved all of that. And then also you got like a little bit of a secondary romance between Courtney and Frosty. A lot of little things going on there, all of which I liked. It was a very fun episode. I don't know what I would say is like the true highlight for this season for me, but I would say that's like the top episodes of this season.
And it lays the table for everything. And I know that's like the point of the merge episode, but I feel like some merges are better than others when it comes to that. And I feel like this does lay the table of, these are now the good guys, these are now the bad guys, whatever that means. This is probably who you're going to be pulling for. It's either going to be pulling for Eric or PG. And it's like, well, I keep forgetting Eric's name, so I'm probably going to be rooting for PG. And then you've got who's going to break up this trio here. What's going to happen with James and these idols? What's going to happen with Jean Robert? Like, everything is set up so nicely for us, and I think we get payoff to every single storyline they set up in this merge episode. Chan, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So Casey, so I had thought about that too, about like the idol plan. And I think they said this at some point where they didn't know if the other beach had the same idol placement as they did, because they hadn't been there and they weren't seeing the other clues. So that's something they said was like, we're not sure if that's the same idol or whatever. And so, and also with like Frosty knowing it, like, maybe they were like, well, this idol's kind of public now. Like, we can't really keep it. So might as well like do some good. Like, he wanted to gain favor and traction with James, because I don't think they were working together that closely before. So it's like, okay, do it. We get it out of play, and we get my biggest threat, Todd's biggest threat, Jamie, out. But yeah, I thought about that too. And I think they said like, we don't know what the other idol beach, like someone could have it for all they know. So.
Which is fair, but the key identifier should have been the idol clues were the same. They were the same, so I think it was a logical conclusion, at least in my mind. And who knows?
I mean, someone could have had it. Like, I don't know. I don't blame him if he knows like this is going to take out whatever. They've been throwing challenges. Like, this is a surefire way to get them. Because if James goes, what does that do for Todd? now they're getting up in numbers. They're going to be even at the merge. Lost James, who could be their meat shield. I thought it was a good plan of him being proactive. I see the cons. Like, it definitely wasn't a perfect plan if it had even worked out, but lucky for him, it didn't, and he didn't need it anyway.
Yeah. But as for the merge episode, there was something that you had said, Andrew.
Lays the table.
Jamie.
Jamie. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like, that for us following, I guess the underdogs, the heroes, so to speak, of the season. Yeah, I mean, that episode really starts to lay the groundwork to a point where you then question the people that you were probably rooting for. Are they the villains? But I don't think it's like fully out there just yet. Now, Jamie, and I have my notes like multiple times, I'm like looking at it. I did view Jamie as having like a decent read at the game, but more so saw Jamie as the glue for her tribe. I felt like PG was definitely the more strategic one. At least that was my interpretation of it. Whereas, like, once again, Jamie, she had her showmance with Eric, which they got married after the show or something like that.
Yes.
And then
leave it there. And
and then PG, like, she had a good relationship with Jamie. So like she was literally like getting rid of Jamie, then leaves PG and Eric on their own, and they're then sticking together out of more so necessity rather than an actual, at least from what we've seen, built personal and strategic relationship.
Yeah, no, I it's so funny watching these seasons the way that I do, because I try my best to pay attention to people I haven't before. And Jamie was that person until she goes home this episode or this season. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, she's very good. She is very, like I said earlier, you put her on another season, especially maybe even an earlier season, she probably does very well in it, because she's not overly strategic, but she is one of the more strategic people in the season, and is one of, if not the most social person on her OG tribe, where she's never really in any type of danger, and they're losing a lot. So I think that is a testament to her, and I think she's the one protecting Eric, from going. And it's amazing that he survives as long as he does after she's gone. The very next episode, this is where shit kind of hits the fan in an amazing way, because it starts off with Jean Robert basically threatening Todd, like, once again, if I go home, I know it was you, I know it was Amanda, and you will not get my vote, and I will poison the jury, and no one will ever. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we're back to this bullshit again. And we also have a conversation with James and Jean Robert, where he's basically like, okay, I want to do this now, which is ironic because no one wants to do it now. They want to do it later. I know, Casey, you brought up Jean Robert. There was like a switch that happens once the merge happens. I know someone brought up in the chat that maybe it's jury pandering at this point. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I think maybe part of it is jury pandering, but I think in at least my read of it was, at that point, Jean Robert had votes against him, I think, so he got out in episode 8, and I think he had votes for him like the previous 3 times he went to tribal council. And it's getting to a point where it's just like, this could become very dangerous. Like, I think he was like, I do have to switch up my game. And I think Jean Robert, in terms of all the poker players we've seen in Survivor, there's not many, there's maybe like half a dozen. He does last the longest. And I think when you really analyze his gameplay, it is very much how you would expect a poker player to play the game. It's a lot about aggressiveness and bluffing. And I think he kind of has a shitty personality, but his gameplay,
he's a bad boy, so like,
he is a bad boy, beware everyone. But yeah, he's just like, it's just, I think it's who he is as a poker player, but once again, he does the best out of any poker player we've ever seen.
Well, talking about dated references when he says that and Courtney goes, "What are you, Luke Perry?" It's like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so where I was going with this is we're going to get the Jean Robert blindside in this episode, and this is, I feel like, for a lot of audience members, what we kind of need at this point. We kind of just need him gone, and Courtney also just needs him gone. Chan, the first time you watched this, did you think there was any way they were going to pull it off? One. And two, I know I kind of brought this up earlier, but do you feel like the season hits the next gear after he's gone? Or do you think it's always like it stayed whatever this is all the way to the end? Or do you think it does pick up after this?
Your first question was genre. Did I think they'd pull off blindsiding him?
Yeah, yes. Without him figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. I think while he says like, "Oh, it feels a little weird around here," like, I don't know. He's good at reading people, but I think his ego would not let him figure out, like, of course my allies wouldn't turn on me, like, I don't know. I don't, even if he did, what is he going to do about it? Like, you don't listen to an idol. Like, so no, it doesn't, because it was on the edge of doing it forever. We knew that it wouldn't be hard to get like Courtney and a bunch of people on board who didn't like him and the underdogs looking for, a relief of not them. So no, I felt like it was a good time for it to work out, though I couldn't remember who went first before James versus Jean Robert. So I was like, oh wait, this is when James gets blindsided, and then it didn't happen. I was like, oh, that's next, because I was like, no way James wouldn't play it at final 7. Like, like he was already threatened the round before because they told him, hey, Jean Robert's coming after you. So he knew that his name was out there and it could possibly turn to him. But that's conversation for when we get there. But do I think no, I still enjoyed the season. Like, he was very entertaining, but I think he went when he was supposed to, just kind of like Crazy Dave. Like, the characters, they do their thing, they leave their mark, they go, and it stayed real. Something I really liked about China actually was, and I wrote this in my like overall notes, they did a really good job of telling individual players' stories as they came, but it didn't feel like Denise is being purpled and she comes out at the end, which is what happened. Maybe if you watch it every week, you'd be like, why is Denise getting no edit? But then near the end, she gets her time. So watching it on a binge, I feel like they did a really good job of telling each individual background story, how they feel in the game, their motivations for the game. And almost every episode was almost like a highlight on each person, even if they weren't going home yet. So I thought that was really good.
I like that. Yeah, I'll have to watch China again because I feel like I do.
You just watch it.
It does feel like everybody has. It's like you're watching an anthology series and you're watching it from 16 different people's perspectives, but it's one episode at a time. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to watch China again.
Watch it again
in like July. Casey, we get to the through the Frosty vote. Frosty, bless him, he's sweet and adorable, but he goes. And we get to the big moment of the first. As far as blindsides are concerned, I think that we have John and Marquesas, we have Leanne and Vanuatu, and we have Edgardo and Fiji. And maybe we put Courtney from Panama in there, but let's say it's the three of them, and then we have this. And I think the reason that this one will always be looked at as one of, if not the best, is the MacGuffin of having two idols, in your possession, and him being the physical leader of this alliance. All time, like, you don't have to, like, this is not an actual ranking or anything like that, but we're in season 50. Do you still put James being voted out with two idols as even like a top 2 worst move, but also, where does it fall as far as blindsides for you?
Really, it's hard for me to truly say, because I'd have to really recall 50 seasons worth of blindsides, but it is up there. And Survivor does love showing the James and the Eric stuff over it. And I mean, Eric Reichenbach over and over and over again. And it is because I think of old school Renaissance era of Survivor. Like, it is a crazy blindside, and it's crazy because of the two idols in a time where idols were pretty new. And once again, James was a fan favorite, which makes it then personally devastating for every watcher watching this. It is up there. It definitely is up there. Um, but we have had some really good blindsides within probably even the past 10 years. But at least of the first half of the series, it's got to be like maybe top 3 that I can think of.
You brought up him being America's hero, so it's going to hurt them a lot. The only person I can compare this to as far as that is when Rupert gets voted out of Pearl Islands, because I don't know how old you were during Rupert Mania, but it was disgustingly huge.
10
And I remember when he got voted out, I just, in my head for years, I always thought that people stopped watching Pearl Islands after that. I've been looking at the ratings this time, watching just like to see how many people are watching. The ratings somehow went up after Rupert got voted out of Pearl Islands, and China kind of stagnated when James went out. But I do think it is a testament to the types of players that we have, because this is something that history has kind of warped in our heads. Oh yeah, when Todd pulled off that move on James. Chan, what actually happened in this round? Because it's not Todd. At least from what we are showing on screen, it's not Todd.
Yeah, so I think that it was in a lot of people's heads. Like, obviously, Jean Robert tried to do it the round before. Todd had talked about it previously. I was confused about this at first, but the fact that Todd doesn't push back on Amanda claiming credit for it, I think she was the one that, at the very least, put it in motion for that round at Final 7, because we saw him talking about it sooner. I mean, it's obviously a great point. If you let them slide, he's going to go straight to 5 or 4 with it. So yeah, I think it was Amanda. Obviously, other people had it in their heads. But yeah, good for her of kind of putting her foot down. If I forgot what Todd's alternative was, whether it was
it is like, at least from what we're shown, Amanda is the one that comes up with it.
Yeah.
And like everyone kind of hops on board with it because her rationale makes sense.
Sure.
I think for me, what has always bothered me about it is the fact that, and I'm going to talk a lot about this tomorrow with Micro, as far as who gets credit for certain things when it's everyone else. Here, I feel like history has now said, oh, it was Todd that did this. And yeah, the victor goes to spoils and all that. But like, we don't have to, this is not something that isn't documented that we can't just go back and see. Like, we know what this is, yet, oh yeah, remember when Todd pulled this off? And that's just me being, I guess, a historian. I have a degree in history. I hate when things get changed around like that, but I love that. I love the fact that it was Amanda that did it.
Yeah, I think also because, like, even if Amanda came up with the idea, it was clear that it was Todd that had the social capital to pull things off. Like, Todd might have organized a lot of things, but he was the executor of a lot too. Like, he was the one who was probably more, like, he seemed closer with Courtney than Amanda did, even though the three of them are close. He seemed closest with I don't know, Denise, Amanda versus whatever too, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had equal credit in terms of the execution, even if it was her idea. But he didn't push back on it in Final Tribal Council when she claimed credit. So definitely her. But yeah, it's easy to be like, oh, they're a duo. They did everything together in terms of the later credit. But yeah, Amanda's no slouch.
Well, that's the thing. So I think, like I said it before, like, you do see constantly throughout the season Todd, as a strategic powerhouse, but Amanda is, I think, just as strategic. She sometimes can really keep Todd at bay when he gets a little, in his fits. Like, I always think of Tony and Trish, but with Amanda, I think Amanda's biggest issue in this season is the fact that, like, she's too nice, and it, kind of screws her in the end, as we obviously see. But with the James one, I think it's very obvious that, it is her idea. Todd might have actually said it a couple episodes before, or at least tossed out the idea. But yeah, with the whole James thing, I don't think anyone would fight that assessment. But it is interesting. I always view a lot of the earlier seasons, and Andrew, you at this point are way more of an encyclopedia than I am. I feel like ever since the pandemic, my memory for Survivor, especially new era seasons, is so low compared to what it used to be. But I don't really question a ton of credit for the edit prior to anything before 30. I really question the edit a lot now on the new era, and I will always remember the Jam Jam season as someone who the edit gives them credit for things they did not actually do.
Or if you want to go to 41, where it's like, oh, we're just going to make our winner invisible for basically the entire thing, and get the Facebook mom so pissed off because Xander's clearly the winner because he's the whatever.
The golden boy.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, you're right.
No offense to either one of you. You donated to the Xander $1 million fund.
Jeez, I forgot they did that. Oh my!
Wait, what happened?
So after Xander lost, the Facebook moms basically started a GoFundMe to give him $1 million because it was yeah. He had nothing to do with it, but the fan, that's a show's. They're going to do the same thing for Jonathan. I guarantee they're going to do the same thing for Jonathan.
I mean, yeah, with Xander though, I didn't dislike Xander, but the edit was so misleading. I shouldn't have to read 8 EW articles to figure out what actually happened that season. That's ridiculous. That was a massive blunder on the edit. But point being is I don't question the edit as much in any season prior to 30.
To 30.
Yeah. 40, 41 and over, I question a lot. And I'm able to read the edit way better than when I was younger, especially if anyone follows the Edgic, although Edgic is not as relevant in the new era.
And I'll talk about that in about 30 days. This James Boot episode is also where, for me, this time I really start to turn on Denise. Because PG brings her on the reward along with Eric. And it's a reward that she knows that Denise needs, and also something that she would value. And PG, this is one of PG's storylines this season, is she is Chinese. So she is valuing everything, every experience that she has here. And so I think she saw Denise as someone that appreciated her culture. I'm going to bring her along. Well, a reward that Denise wins from the next episode until the end, she purposely cuts out PG, including going to the Great Wall. And this is also where Denise starts outwardly saying, I know I'm 4. I know I'm not in the 3. I know this. If it was her not saying it, it's okay, so she might think that she's a part of a 3. But from what we're being told at both Tribal and Challenges, she knows she's 4. Chan, I know we talked about this before we went live, how you were just kind of not the biggest Denise person. What do you remember the moment where you turned on her, and was it this moment?
Yeah, it was around the same, because that's when she starts to get more of an edit anyway. And to be fair, I love her as a character. I think, Casey said, those types of, different walks of life are so needed to make it so interesting. And her stakes were a lot higher personally. So she was intriguing. But yeah, it just frustrated me. And obviously she's one who came probably less of a student of the game versus a Todd or Amanda. But that's probably about where I'm just okay, if you recognize it, it's one thing to not see it. Maybe you're getting promised things we don't see, or and she said this later of well, I think I can beat Courtney. I think I can beat Todd. Nobody likes them. But exactly. Gabe Ruiz, you have fire takes, by the way. So I think just her realizing it and not doing anything about it, or even if you want to dip your toe in the water, take them on the damn reward. No one's going to get mad if you say, hey, PG, I know how much this means to you. You brought me to the last one. She said it out loud. It would make sense. I don't think anybody would have dogged her for that. So at least dip your toe in the water, hear what she has to say. You have to do something. And I'm sure she's kicking herself after the season for not trying harder. But
Casey?
So I'm going to be the Denise defender.
Okay.
So I totally understand why someone would not like Denise or get frustrated, at least in the later part of the season. I don't think there's any reason to dislike her the majority of the season.
No.
I think there's a few things, and we talked about it earlier about how everyone has their own individual arc. Something that I find to be refreshing going back to an older season, something that we don't always get in the new era. When you really unpack who Denise is as a person, because we see her more as a person in the season rather than a game player, she says she is the person who is fat. She's the person who works a $7 an hour job as the lunch lady. She's always been picked last. She's always been this. She's never been included. All this other stuff. And we see throughout the season, she isn't included. She is just their vote the whole time. And in those moments where she does share rewards with people, it makes her feel included. Think about someone who would get picked on in high school, and even though they're not a part of the popular crowd, somehow they end up hanging out with the popular crowd a couple times. Like, that is how I feel for Denise, and she holds on to that feeling and that promise that she's included in the group. And she at least has enough awareness to recognize, as she does say, this is what I should be doing. And I think it would be a mistake if I didn't. But it's just like, it is just so human at its core. Something that I love about the old seasons of Survivor you don't see. I feel for Denise. And I just love seeing an average person play the game and experience the experience that is Survivor and enjoy it for what it is. I will defend Denise. I feel like I have such a soft spot, but I totally get why someone couldn't like her towards the end.
Yeah, I don't think either of us disagree with that.
No,
like,
yeah.
she's
Absolutely.
such an interesting, intriguing character, and obviously not the worst. Like, she made it that far, but yeah, it's frustrating when like they showed many, many times to her face, like, you are not getting picked for this. You are. There was another one where they left her completely out of a vote.
The James vote.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then like still like
Jean Robert.
Yeah, and it's like you still just have to do something. So that I think the frustrations with more of her gameplay, which we would obviously, if she was plucked off the street, doesn't know much about it, you would expect that. But definitely an interesting player for sure. I still agree with that.
Yeah, is she a recruit?
I think most people at this point are.
Even if they weren't, like, what are they going off of?
Yeah.
Who's a strategic player prior to that? There's like a few thrown in there, obviously, but.
And I think the other
running stats or anything back then.
When we were talking before we went live about even like her trying to sabotage PG at 5, like, hey, I don't want her to eat. It's like, this is your last chance. If PG wins, and I think that's why she's so overly vocal during the final 5 immunity challenge. Like, she's the only one that we are hearing cheering on Amanda when it's Amanda versus PG, because like she knows that she is done if PG wins this one right here. And I think that, yeah, that's what, like I said, that's where a lot of, it seems like both of our frustrations come from whatever. I'm not a big moves person. I've never been a big moves person. I think big moves are silly most of the time, except for when you kind of have to do something in order to put yourself into that final 3. And so, yeah, that's like Denise the person, obviously. I mean, James has a crush on her, so like she can't be that bad. I enjoy her story all the way until the end. And we're going to talk about the final 4 in a second, because this is also where I started getting annoyed with Amanda for the next 3 seasons. But I quickly want to touch on the family visit, and this is where Caddy Courtney like really shows her head. With not believing that Todd's sister had a miscarriage, and what the phrasing, unplanned teenage pregnancy and a convenient miscarriage. I know that there's been apologies and all that, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. I will say it still kind of gets a chuckle out of me because of how just aware she is that what she's saying is so over the top mean, and she doesn't care. Which I feel like if there were other people saying it, I would look at it as, wow, I think I despise this person. But something about Courtney that even the rudest thing she'll say, even about like Denise in a couple of episodes, it's like, damn it, I love this. This is good shit, pal. Do you guys disagree or?
You kind of actually cut out. Was that just me, or did you cut out for a
Oh,
moment?
I cut out. Did I cut
I
out?
I for like just a moment. I think I got the gist of what you were saying, though.
Okay.
But actually, what was your question?
Do you disagree on if Courtney is anybody else? Let's just say Russell Hands because I despise the man, but like, let's say it's someone else and Courtney's saying all these things. Do you feel differently, or do you kind of look at her in both of these moments, the one with Todd and the one with Denise in this end game, and look at it as like, no, I don't like this. Period.
I view both of those situations differently. The Denise, that's mean. The Todd, I actually, first off, I did not remember that moment happening. My immediate thought was, oh, this is all a fabrication. Fair Play did this, and we've had enough time where like someone could pull it off and maybe believe it. I mean, obviously, it ended up being true in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, she's not the only one that questions it. Eric, Amanda, and PG all question it as well. And the way it did happen did feel fabricated. And then also with knowing what they know about Todd and we know about Todd, coming from Todd, it is totally questionable. I don't fault Courtney for doing it. She thinks it's fake, and then she throws her little Courtney sass into it, and it's a Courtney moment. The Denise thing was just straight up mean.
Chan?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I think Casey said everything I was thinking as well. I mean, I didn't think he was necessarily faking it, but I see why people questioned it. I probably would have kept that in my head though if I was them. But it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. He's not like asking, like, he already had a good social game, so he didn't necessarily need to do that to get sympathy or anything. Like, the game was going to be the game no matter what. But yeah, I'd probably tell my loved one, like, do not tell me bad news while I'm on the island. Just
Everything is good.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned before, and everyone that has been with me through every time I've done this marathon, the Amanda Kimmel thing. So Amanda Kimmel, obviously she's a legend. She goes to the end back to back. She doesn't get voted out until way into Heroes versus Villains. I think I probably would have enjoyed her for 50. She has this issue where it almost and this is kind of, Denise is trying to fight for her life at 4, and Amanda is just, oh, I'm so sorry. And Jerry Manthe does a great impression of Amanda in Heroes vs. Villains. It's perfect. But it starts to become just like, oh God, like I can't sympathize with you because it comes off as just over the top sad, over the top, like pity party almost. And I think that, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow night, China and Micronesia, she basically does the same thing at Final Tribal. The only difference is here, people like they hate that she's coming in just like I think Gabe brought it up earlier, like they want her to be in there. Yes, exactly, that face. Yes. They want her in there fighting. In Micro, it's a mixture of Ozzy showing his ass, basically, and also people just being sort of just turned off to how Amanda's kind of answering questions. Casey, all time, just or even just these back-to-back seasons, what were your thoughts on Amanda Kimmel as both a player and as a finalist?
So as I said earlier, I didn't get a chance to actually watch FTC. So I can't fully comment on that. As a finalist, I think had she had made like a couple different moves or maybe even one, I totally see her as a deserving winner. I do think she's a little bit too
nice.
Emotional. I don't necessarily want to use that word. I'd have to think of a better word, but I think
she's too pouty. I think that's what it is. she pouts a lot. She's not crying or anything. It's just like it just comes off as very yeah. And I think like, and for me, it's like, oh my God, I'm not one of these smile more people like you. This is not that. This is a don't pout at me all the time. I just be
stand up. Stand up. Yeah.
Yes. I think she feels intensely and she feels bad for things, and it overwhelms her. It gives her this overwhelming sense of guilt. And I think that's where it comes from. It would just be nice if she was able to be steadfast and believe in the moves that she made. And I think the games could have gone way different for her had she had done that. But that's just how she is, especially once again, at that point in, our history and our culture of how, reality people are perceived and stuff like that. I mean, I agree with you guys. Like, I just think she would have owned up to it and maybe done one or two things differently in any of her seasons. We could be looking at a way different Amanda for the future.
Well, Chan, you were doing Amanda Kimmel face almost to perfection. So I'm assuming you have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I like Amanda Kimmel. I see why she lost. I think she misread what the jury needed to hear. So there's either that's how she was always going to react, or she thought that they wanted to hear apologies for backstabbing them. If it's the latter, it was just a misread. If it's the former, which I think we learned it's the former from subsequent seasons, that's just how she is. But I think she just misread the jury. Todd picked up. They want responsibility taken. They want to stand up and declare these were my moves. And even though it hurt you, like our social relationship was real, but the game moves had to happen. And here's why. If she would have done that, I think she would have kept the votes that came in. Like I think Jamie was coming and voting for her, but she said she changed her vote to Todd because of his performance. And I think a couple other people she could have snagged the votes on if she just stood on business. So as a person, I can relate to her. Like when I played the couple allergies I have, I get sad when I have to vote my friends out, even though it's so low stakes, it does not matter. It's still sad to end someone else's game. So I can relate to her from like the guilt perspective, and like, just because it's a game doesn't mean you're like having fun ruining, ending people's dreams. So yeah. I relate to her personally, but yeah, you just can't play that way when you get to FTC, especially against such strong competition in both Todd and Courtney. They both have
exactly. She gets third. Like,
but if she won, I would have been like, "Oh, great winner."
So, I like Amanda Kimmel for 38 days, both the next two seasons, where it's like, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no, in Mike Rhodes, 37, because when she gets rid of Suri, it's like, I'm done with you. So we get to the final tribal, and Chan, you just brought up Todd's performance, and I brought this up during Vanuatu, how I think Chris, Todd, and Marianne are the three best winning at final tribal winners of all time, because Todd does start off just kind of, and then he quickly picks. There is a switch that goes off. And in my head, I was convinced that Todd answers everyone the exact same as far as like he changes his inflections with people based off of how they're coming at him. He's not just going in there being over the top with everyone. He's changing how he speaks based off of who is talking to him. And I think that is amazing gameplay 39 days into a game. Yes, we're no longer in the era where they're trying to kill the players. Like, the players are being fed properly and they have water, so this person's not over the top dying, but he's still malnourished, and the fact that he can adjust on the fly that fast and sway at least two voters. You mentioned Jamie and Jean Robert. Like, he gets two of those votes when they like it's and I know it's very easy to say this, but you can't teach that. You can't teach adjusting on the fly, especially in a high pressure situation. I'm a coach. Like, you can only teach your players whatever, but like when it's crunch time, when something is happening, it's like, okay, you just kind of trust that they'll either switch into gear or they won't. And if it doesn't work that way, then it's fine. Todd had this ability, and I think this is why people put him in their top 10, because not only did he have control, but at finale where they could have torn him apart, instead of sticking to the game plan that he had going in, he adjusted on the fly.
Mhm.
I don't really have a question with that. I just more kind of want to get Chan with you first.
Yeah.
Just your opinion on how he performed and all of that.
It's just so good. Like masterclass, his opening statement was meh. He was like, "Thanks for getting me here." Like I was kind of like, "All right, Todd." But then the rest of it, like the individual answers, amazing. John Robert flawless, like feeding his ego, strategic, whatever. But something underrated that he did, or I haven't seen this mentioned much, is like he was not afraid to go in on the people next to him. He was ruthless. He was not like, "Oh, but I love them." Da, da, da. Like Courtney, when she was asked that question by Jamie, like, "Tell me why the people next to you shouldn't win," she was like praising Todd. She's like, "Well, Todd did all these things." And she goes, "What'd he do?" And Courtney starts listing off, "He organized this vote. He organized this vote. He did this. He did that." And she's like, "Oh, so he should win over you." And she's like, "I mean, no." Like she just answered so poorly, whereas Todd came in with answers. Courtney followed me the whole time. She voted how I wanted. She doesn't even want to be here. And I couldn't remember if he answered about Amanda, but like he was just not afraid to put his peers down to lift him up, which could backfire. We've seen it backfire before where it's like, just focus on yourself. But I think it needed to happen coming in as the underdog because he did not come in as the listed winner. Like he earned that for himself in the moment. So it was a perfect mix of praising himself, lifting himself up. And he always brought it back to, they deserve it, but I deserve it more. He said that like 3 times.
Yes.
And it just, he was so convicted that everybody else was convicted to vote for him, especially this, like who voted for him? Jamie, PG,
Frosty.
Whoa, and John Robert. So the more like strategic people voted for Todd because they respected him. Yeah.
And Amanda gets Eric, which was random.
Yeah, we'll be friends near the end, so I see why that happened. But so interesting. But that's why Todd's one of my faves. Like it's such a good FTC and just such an interesting game.
So at the beginning of this, I brought up something that has happened the first 14 seasons that doesn't really happen at this final tribal. And Casey, I know you haven't seen Final Tribal, but you don't need to talk about this. And this is where I get on my soapbox when I talk about how the modern day fandom just kind of misremembers old Survivor. Because the modern day fandom claims that this whole honesty integrity thing is like this new thing that just came out of the blue, when in the first 14 seasons of the show, at Final Tribal, it has not failed until today. Multiple jurors and multiple finalists will bring up how honesty, integrity, like played a big part in their game, and then they'll get feedback saying, "Hey, you weren't honest, and you lied to me about this, and like you're going to go to hell because you swore on your son's name," and all of this. And this is one of the 2 people that kind of tease honesty, integrity are James and Denise, and they vote for Courtney because they feel like she's the most honest. Casey, why do you? Once again, it's one of these. I know it's a loaded question, but why do you think there are a lot of Survivor fans now that are convinced that this is somehow a new thing when it has really been around since the beginning of the show?
So to clarify, you're saying most Survivor fans are thinking this honesty and loyalty is a new thing? Like it's just now coming up?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, I mean, maybe, and I try at this point to stay away from a lot of Survivor communities because
me too, but
like many things, it's become so toxic and just aggravating. But I actually don't feel that way. I feel like that's why in Survivor 50, they mention, and once again, I don't follow these people for their politics or anything outside, but like you have the whole cut from the same cloth. This is an old school mentality, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I definitely see that as like an older school thing. I just think people figured out what Survivor is and how you should play it. And the honesty and loyalty part of it at its core has sort of gone away as a needed component to win. So I don't think it is a new thing. And I certainly wouldn't argue that it was a new thing because like I said, I don't always see that. I actually do feel like people reference as honesty and loyalty is an old school thing.
No, I'm more talking about the fandom, the toxic Star Wars type fans that we have now. It's and I know I'm hosting a Survivor podcast, so like I understand, but it's just they aggravate me. Chan, same type question.
I
Go ahead.
think it went like that, where it started off because like it's a social experiment. There's no like rules, but like think about it. Richard Hatch, spoiler alert, first winner, was not honesty and integrity. And then there became a point where it was like people are just bitter that they got, played. And then it was like then the middle era where it was a lot more strategic, the big moves started to come out. I think it was like, okay, well, who has the most on their resume? Maybe a little bit of honesty, integrity, but not much. And then now, like, it's starting to come back a little bit. Like, depending on the season, I think it's just whatever the theme of the, not theme, but like the ethos of the season. But yeah, I thought it was, I mean, they ended up voting for the biggest backstabber liar in the group. So it just shows you have to cater to your
Frosty was one that was like, oh yeah, you stab him. Like, dude, you're like 20. Yeah. Relax. Like, chill out.
I love Frosty. I don't care. He should have come back. We should have brought Frosty back. I thought we were talking about earlier who else could have won. He had a few like early on, like I'm in the middle. I have all these options. And he was positioned the best going into the merge because he had his old group and the new group who trusted him. He knew where the idol was. So I think Frosty could have been a contender, though it became clear he wasn't going to win. But bring Frosty back.
Well, so this is I'm gonna. So we've had what 4 people come back from this season. 4. I won't. Right? Am I making that up? Right?
James, Amanda, Courtney, PG.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Bring back Crazy Dave.
One, is there anyone that you guys would have actually been happy to see come back at any point between then and 50? And second question, do you feel like any of the 4 that have come back, do you think that this is the best version of them, or do we get that best version of them later?
As
far as a TV character, like not like best version. Yeah.
So, okay. So another thing too is that with PG, seeing her in this season definitely shattered my memory of who she was. But then again, my core PG moment is Abby Maria confronting her on the beach. Yes. One of the most iconic Survivor moments in my mind. Like that, it is hysterical. But this PG, I was like, oh wait, this is how she was. So definitely different. I think this might be, and it's because this might be peak PG, but it's because she had to fight and get to where she got to ultimately, which sometimes is really the best version of a lot of different people, is seeing them fight and claw their way and make it far because of it. As for people returning, I guess Jamie would have actually been interesting to see down the line come back. Frosty, I would agree with Frosty. I did not remember actually at all. In my notes, I think I had like 8 or 9 of them as like, oh my gosh, I remember them. I had James, Courtney, PG, Todd, Ashley, but that's for me watching WWE back in the day. Amanda, Denise, Chicken, Jean Robert, and Sharia. But I think those 2 would have been a lot of fun. Aaron could have been as well, especially because he was looked at as a, leader type character. It would have been interesting seeing him, play another game. But I think we really got the fun characters, and sometimes you kind of need those fun characters.
Chan?
Yeah. So I think PG and maybe even Courtney, I think, were at their best here. And maybe that's just because Courtney was kind of under-edited in future seasons, but yeah, I adore PG, especially this second watch. I need to watch Cambodia again and see how she goes there. But I think this. So I agree. I'm looking because we didn't talk about Sharia, and she had a really funny moment. I really liked her. She said something about like, I'm not doing anything until I am told or until I have to, and I'm like, real.
And then she killed the challenge because she was trying to conserve her energy, and then she ended up killing the challenge.
I'm like, yeah. So
she does very well throughout the season physically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so returning, I think Frosty should have come back. Like he definitely had the game chops, social game. He was one of the best in his tribe, I think. Yeah, I think Jamie would have been great to have back. I'm looking at the list. PG. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think everybody else kind of had their arc. Bring back chicken. Damn.
Yep, that's the best part.
I feel like at this point, because with 2007, I don't think that he would be, I don't think he'd be capable.
I think he'd be a wasted space.
Fine.
Yeah. He would definitely be a wasted spot, but that was definitely a great little moment. But yeah, with Frosty though, if Frosty ever, let's just say none of the other seasons happened post China, if Frosty ever came back, I am a like steadfast believer in don't bring people back immediately. You have to let them kind of marinate on their game. And Frosty would have been someone who could have been cool to have back later down the line. Yeah. I also always feel that like Russell's a slightly different story, but that is something for a way other day. Michaela is another big person who I'm like, bring back later. Rizzo's another person. Not a fan of Rizzo, but I think he.
I love him.
I think he's a decent player, but he's another person who shouldn't come back immediately. Let him learn from mistakes. Point, which that is once again a whole other topic. But yeah, with Frosty, like he brought him back, like bring him back a few years down the line, not immediately. I think
he's only 39, so he could come back and be great.
Oh, he's only 39.
Oh, yeah. Because he was 20.
Yeah, do the Jenna Lewis thing. You play once, you play a few years later, and then you play 2 decades later. Yeah. Like that's a perp. Even though she was my winner pick for 50, so like that didn't work out too well. 2 questions. 1, who would your ally be this season?
There is a really strong part of me that thinks that Todd would have been, at least in the early game, but I think as the game went on, I would have gravitated towards Amanda. I find that in a lot of things, I kind of tend to gravitate towards women. I guess to quote Rizzo, I'm not exactly a man's man, but yeah, but I'm not a man's man, but I'm not that, but I'm not this, but I do gravitate towards women. So,
I mean, when I play games, I gravitate more towards women. So like, I get it. Chan?
Yeah. I mean, I think, Todd and Amanda, I think I would love to be crazy. No, I love like adopting a little like, all right, I'm going to reel you in here. No, for real. If I was playing, I know myself, I would get paranoid a little bit like much. I need someone to ground me. So if that's Amanda doing that, absolutely. But also I just like adore Todd so much. I'd want to work with him. But if he ever gets bitchy towards me or starts to run shit too much, I'm not passive enough to stand by. So probably them until I have to turn. I don't know. PG would be a great ally. She was a good mix of like self-interested, but also for the group. Because she was, they're throwing a challenge to save their people. You know what? Yeah, I changed my answer. PG and Jamie. More PG. Okay. But I don't know. I love them all. Even Crazy Dave.
So my real answer is Courtney. But I will say that, so everyone knows that I have a crush per season just because it makes it fun. Jamie and PG were both mine for this season, like by a very large margin. They are just fun to look at. But Courtney as a whole, I feel like because I'm a very snarky person most of the time, and I say a lot of smart ass, like I would want to be hanging out with someone that I just kind of bounce stuff off of. Like I do feel like, I know it's easy for me to say it because I've watched this season, but like, yeah, you want to vote John Rivera, let's do it. The end. Like let's go to work. And then obviously final question, Casey, something that the modern day fandom would hate about Survivor China.
My immediate answer, and I was thinking about this when I was rewatching, is there is probably a good like minute or so segment where they're making race jokes. I could see the internet just going crazy over it. It's the merge episode. Yeah, they're the black tribe. They make a black joke about yellow tribe about PG and Frosty, and there might have been, I think there was probably another joke in there.
I remember now. I think it was just those two then, but John Robert made a couple of those.
So which I mean, not great that anyone would make it, but yeah, I mean, that I could definitely see the internet having a field day with. But then I also think about where Dave immediately just strips naked, which Survivor nowadays would not allow that to happen. But yeah, I think they would have a field day about that.
Chan?
Definitely. Yeah, that's so true, Jocelyn. Yeah, I would love to kiki with Todd, but yeah, upon second thought, maybe not the best ally. I have a few. Okay, so John Rivera being a pig, obviously. Add on what you said, Casey. I asking Courtney about being anorexic at the reunion. However, I did read later she asked him to say that because so many people were asking her like or writing about it online, so she wanted to clear the air. So maybe not, but still watching it, like that's not clear that she asked him to do that. So people are probably like, "What the heck? Why are you talking about body?" Also, people would have been laughing at and making fun of Denise now, like they do Mitch, of like, make a move, like my move is coming, you know? So that's something, not that they look hate, but like I think they'd be reacting to Denise in that same way that they do people that don't make moves now. And then I wrote the choose your swap twist. I think some would love it, but you know how the fandom is with twists. We always have haters, always have lovers. Yeah, so I think that there would have been definitely some pushback of, you know, Aaron was robbed, all that.
No, that's mine. It's I think that the fans would hate the way that, and I think all three of us kind of talked about how we weren't the biggest fan, but I think that yeah, they Aaron was robbed, or all of this, like, and it's I feel like that would be warranted. And I know, like, I'm going back 2 days to talk about Cook Islands again because people love Cook Islands. People love Cook Islands. I don't know what the last time you guys watched Cook Islands was, but every single round has a twist. Like, and some of them are very game changing, and it's funny because everyone loves it. But have you gone back and watched something that you guys claim to hate? You hate twists. Well, this season that you love is full of them. But I'm done talking about Cook Islands, and we're done talking about Survivor China. Thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone in the DMs, for continuing to support. It's been a fun ride. We're entering week 3. So this is definitely where the fun part starts to end, because then I hit the 20s, and that's not fun. So make sure to, where are we at? Oh, make sure to like, subscribe on YouTube, on Instagram. I will be posting the link later. We will be back tomorrow night for Survivor Micronesia, and you get to hear all about how I'm not the biggest fan of the winner. But until then, we will see we will see you tomorrow for Survivor Micronesia.